Dean Skelos was once again voted in today as state Senate Majority Leader, a position that takes on new meaning with a clear Republican majority in the chamber. The Assembly Republicans who do not enjoy a majority are going to vote later this week on their minority leader, and a local assemblyman is trying to stop that from becoming a rubber stamp. Steve McLaughlin of Melrose is one of 4 members staging a mini revolt against Brian Kolb, who's held the job of minority leader since 2009. So why the revolt and what's at stake? Joining us now, our political analyst, New York Post state editor, Fred Dicker. Fred, good to have you with us. I think for many people, when they think of Steve, they think often of his opposition to the SAFE Act. I don't imagine that has much to do with this, but what is he upset with Brian Kolb for?
Well, this is really the buzz of the Capitol, and it's a long time coming. It's been a long time, not just during Kolb's tenure, which has been very ineffective, but even before Kolb, the Assembly Republican minority just has been totally ineffective. But making it worse is in recent years, because of the sex scandals involving payoffs by the state to people who obviously harassed several young women, approved by Speaker Silver, Speaker Silver's counsel being arrested on sex charges. People have wondered, where have the Assembly Republicans been in exploiting this and using it to be a strong opposition? Well, the answer is they've been nowhere. And finally, out of the 40 or so Assembly Republicans, and that's a very small number, and they did very poorly in the election, finally a few of them, like Steve McLaughlin, Claudia Tenney from the Utica area, have stepped forward to say enough already. It looks like there's a sweetheart deal here, and on the inside, Liz, everyone says there is a sweetheart deal between Speaker Silver and Brian Kolb, the Assembly Minority Leader, so that there is no Republican opposition. McLaughlin is saying on the SAFE Act and many other things, there should be a loud voice from the Assembly Republicans. The voice isn't there. This group of 4 who aren't going to succeed really are demanding things that seem reasonable if you look at what they're asking for, a real opposition to the Democrats. You know,
I remember back to when Jim Tedisco held that position, and he was that kind of, very vocal opposition leader.
He was forceful. He was also looking to get out. He ran for Congress, but he was a forceful opponent to Governor Spitzer, as many people will remember. And before that, John Faso of Kinderhook was there. He eventually became a candidate for governor, in part because he was a strong spokesman against the governor. Now, I know a lot about Brian Kolb, the Republican leader. Even his own members say privately they believe that Speaker Silver may have something on him or he made a deal with him. He's not said a single word in years about Speaker Silver's involvement in this very controversial Vito Lopez payment deal involving sex harassment. Now, why wouldn't a minority leader take advantage of that unless there's some reason we don't know about that he hasn't?
Can you give us a quick, I just want to give you a chance to talk a little bit about Dean Skelos, because there's some other local opposition there.
Well, it's very interesting. George Amador, the senator-elect, was asked earlier today, are you backing Skelos? And he said, I haven't made a decision yet. I want to see what's going on. Well, he eventually did decide to back Skelos, but there's a great deal of unhappiness with Skelos, as with Brian Kolb. You may recall my story from last week where the campaign manager of Rob Astorino's campaign said Skelos had his sweetheart deal with Governor Cuomo. And there's no question about that, in my view, that he did. So here we have a Republican leadership in this state at a time when Republicans had huge victories in the last election, and just by accident, Dean Skelos was lucky enough to retake the majority because the Republicans who won were Republicans who opposed Skelos's support for the SAFE Act. There's an irony there that I don't think people fully appreciate.
All right. Well, it's a lot to take in, but obviously it's something we're going to be talking about over a lot of time since they're both around for a while. Thank you, Fred. And you can hear Fred's radio program live from the state capitol weekday mornings 10 to 11, Talk 1300 AM.